everyone, this is Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life, and we are into May, so I am ready to share with you the layouts I made for April. I got a decent amount done, but only one share, so I didn't do an overload like I normally do because in March I did Calvin Ball, so that was a lot, so I kind of slowed things down a little bit in April. To start off with, I did the another episode of my Obsessed series. This is a series that Caddy Miranda and I do, and we were in the middle of using the documentary collection by Dear Lizzie. This one, there was a sketch that we followed, and it was really fun, and it lent itself to doing some mixed media, which I had a lot of fun with. So I did some mixed media with this little circle here, and it's probably really hard to see, but maybe if I can bring it up. I also did mixed media right here, if you can see that. It's just in a teal color. So I was able to do mixed media. I did splatters as well. And then I just kind of layered my photo up on a bunch of really pretty pattern paper from the collection. I used two different doilies, some of the ephemera. This is a frame that actually, this is the back side of the frame. The front side is a very, very bright pink. And so but I loved how the kind of the chipboard, the raw chipboard looking looked with the photo. And then I did use some of the actual thickers from the collection. And then these are just Amy Tan. They're almost translucent stickers. I love them. I was also able to use a rub-on, and then I just did my journaling about the fact that my little guy had turned 2, and this is from January of this year. He turned 2 in 2016. So there's that layout. The next one was for the series that I do with Rachel. So this is my Lifted series. Not Lifted, I'm sorry. Get Sketchy series. And this one is indeed following a lift though. So one episode we do a scrap lift, and the second episode we do a sketch. This was a very fun layout, and the original layout was done by someone who scrapbooks for Pink Paisley. She had this awesome thing and then one word in between, so 2 letters were here and 2 letters were here, and that was her layout. I loved it. I did take the diagonal approach to it. Picked out this photo I have of, this is my little guy and this is my mom. They're walking in a pumpkin on the way to the pumpkin field. We went to the pumpkin patch last fall, and I just really wanted to kind of highlight how excited Jackson was that Nana was with him. So I did a whole bunch of layering, used up a bunch of scraps, which made me really excited. Figuring out how to cut on a diagonal took me forever. I don't know why it was so complicated, but for some reason I had a really hard time cutting on the diagonal. But I did figure it out. I did some stitching around it all. I used a wood veneer pumpkin here, more of my fall type themed stuff, a nice little cluster here, and then my journaling. So everything is on the diagonal this way with the pattern paper on the diagonal that way. Pretty happy with the way it turned out, and I think it's a nice addition. I'm just talking about, again, how excited Jackson was to have Nana come to the pumpkin patch with us. I then got my Paige Evans on, and I was searching through Pinterest. Sometimes when I'm not in the mood to actually scrapbook, I love to just flip through Pinterest and find inspiration. So when I am ready to, I can just flip to those inspiring layouts and scrap lift from them. So what I took from her was the hand stitch approach of doing a heart. So I simply just drew my own hearts a bunch of times and then just used my little paper piercer and then picked some colors that I thought would look well. And before, that was what I had done first. I hadn't picked out my photo or anything like that. I then thought, because these colors were so playful in the middle, it would be fun to pick some pattern paper to border and back the layout with. So I went to my Crate Paper Wonder collection, and I just picked the 2 colors that I thought would work the best. I also had happened to have this frame that I thought tied in really well because of the colors, so I just kind of cut it in half and did that. I then picked my photo. My photo is just, again, from the same day, the same pumpkin patch day. Jackson had happened to he had had so much fun. By the time we were in the car, he had fallen asleep and slept the whole way home. And so I thought it would be a fun story to tell. And I just picked a little bit of random things. I was finally able to use this little flag pendant thing I've had in my stash for a while. I believe that's from a Maggie Holmes collection a couple collections ago. Another doily here, and then I just simply titled this "And Then He Sleeps." So I was able to use some more of these really pretty gold. This is from the Maggie Holmes collection, her last collection. So I was able to use that. Again, these two are from, oh, her name just escaped me, I'm sorry. Amy Tangerine, her translucent letters that she has. And this was just a thicker from my stash. So doing the stitching, I'm not gonna lie, it was very time consuming. It took me a whole one sitting of scrapbooking period to do, and then I created the rest of the layout later because by the time you finish stitching all that, you're sick of it. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I think it's really neat and it's different. It's not something I do a lot, so it catches my eye, at least. I was really happy with that. I then created this layout, and this was for a layout. So like I said, I do this series with Rachel, the Get Sketchy series, but last month I was having some major camera problems, and the layout that I had originally videotaped and had set up to go didn't actually work out. So I ended up just redoing it, and it was from a lift from Sarah King, who I'm always so inspired by. She does some amazing layouts. You can check her out. She has I believe that she has a YouTube channel, and she also is on multiple Facebook groups like Victoria Marie and Nicole Jones and all of that. So you can find her there. She has awesome layouts. So we decided to scrap lift from her, and I just took her original idea of the pattern paper and then built off of it. Tied in a whole bunch of little bits and pieces here. I love the pattern. Like, I used a bunch of different pattern papers, used up some stash. I used some frames here. There's a little doily, another doily, and two cameras, and this chipboard heart that again was in my stash, and I was so excited to be able to get that used up. These photos were taken from my 2014 Project Life. I had condensed my Project Life, and so I have all these random little cards and pictures that I still want to scrap, but weren't in my Project Life anymore. So I just happened to have these together, and I thought they worked well. And I just wanted to document how summer isn't necessarily my favorite season of the year, but I love being able to have a nice cold iced beverage and all of that. And so there's bonuses to summer, even though it's not my favorite. And this little photo here, it says she falls under the spell of summer. I found it on Pinterest from, I believe it's PNP Flowers, PN something flowers. It's PMP Flowers. So if you go onto and follow her, she has the coolest things that she posts and little sayings like that. And I really loved it. I used her sayings a lot in my Project Life for 2014, and so that just happened to be a part of it. On the back, I do give credit to it, so I remember where it's from, but again, it's also there. And did a little bit of journaling, and then of course did a bunch of splatter. So I love it. I did do a border as well, and I was really pleased with the way that turned out. And then this layout cracks me up. So this is for the other episode of the Obsessed series, and again we were using pattern papers, and the goal here is we scrap lifted from each other. So Caddy had this really neat layout about her niece that she had done, and there were arrows pointing to her, and it was really fun, and I was so excited to scrap lift from it. I learned, however, I do not know how to cut out arrows in a pleasing way. So I kind of nixed the arrow part, but kept the rest of it. And so it's all very focused down on like this 2/3, and this is very blank. But I thought it kind of helped highlight the pattern paper that I love. I love this pattern paper. And then I was also able to add in a bunch of different stuff. Like, I've gotten washi tape used up that me and washi are not friends. I have a hard time using washi tape, so this one just happened to work really well. It says, "Get on my level." And of course, this is talking about him having a massive tantrum. And this was his first really big tantrum he'd ever had. And so as much as I felt bad that he was upset and wasn't getting his way, I just thought it was hilarious, and I just happened to keep taking photos. So I can't believe I was like with it enough to take photos, because he throws tantrums now, and I would not be with it to do that. But anyways, I just grabbed it. And then I grabbed a bunch of stuff from the collection. Basically, the only thing that is not from the collection itself is this little doily. Other than that, the rub-ons, all of this is from the collection. I was able to use this awesome little banner type thing, which Caddy had a banner in her original layout, so I really wanted to do that. That was part of the layout that I liked a lot. And then I just kind of wrote about how he had his first tantrum, and you know, it only gets worse. He wasn't even 2 here. I think this was in March of 2015. So he was like a year and a couple months old. He wasn't even close to being a toddler yet, and he was already throwing a tantrum. So I like this layout. This one, I like the story about it as well. And then this one, I also really enjoy the way it turned out. This is from a sketch, and this is the last episode in April of the Get Sketchy with Rachel that I do. And it was also, if you are a part of the Victoria Marie Facebook group, would have noticed this type of layout and sketch as being the sketch that Sarah Swan posted in the group for that month's, I guess it's May now, so that April's challenge. We had previously picked this sketch before we knew Sarah was doing it as well, so we just kept it and went with it, and it just kind of helped tie in with everything. I really love how it turned out. I used I just kind of was randomly playing. I followed the sketch very closely actually with the layering and where the frame is and all of that. The only difference here at all is that I put a little bit right here. The title is where it was originally in the sketch, and then I added some, excuse me, this is washi and this is just a border. I needed some black to help kind of tie in the black elements that I had added everywhere else. And this photo is, Jackson's right here. It's kind of hard to see, but Jackson is right here sitting next to his little monkey. And what it's talking about is my little guy, and he still today does this. He cannot allow anything to be on a surface. It all has to be on the floor. And so you walk into his room, and I'll have cleaned it, spent like an hour cleaning his room, making it all spotless and pretty, and he'll go in 2 minutes and just wreck it, and everything's on the floor. And it's funny, and it's just, I know it's not always going to be like that, so I just wanted to document this stage in his life where everything needs to be on the floor. Nothing can be, and it can't even be on the couch. Like, he's okay with a blanket on the couch, but that's about it. Anything else, it just all ends up on the floor. So a funny story, and I just definitely kind of highlights where he is in his mental stage of life. Okay, and this one never came to tuition with a process video or anything like that. I have started a new series called Be Inspired and Use It Up. What it is talking about is going through my scrap room and finding random things. So for example, at the moment, I have all these sequins on my desk, just randomly. My desk is a mess right now. And so it's something like grabbing these sequins and saying, okay, I have this, I absolutely have to use this on a layout. And then creating a layout based on that, rather than focusing on finding a photo first and then creating a layout. This one was going to be the first episode, and it was talking about using washi tape. Because again, like I said, I'm horrible with washi. There's something about it that I just can't make it work. However, when I tried to create my layout, I was having massive issues. And if you can see, I'm not sure how zoomed out my thing is, but I have a bunch of washi right here because I went through trying to create an awesome layout with washi tape, and it just wasn't working. So I just said, I'm not going to film this. It's taking me too long. I'm not liking the way it worked. I put away my camera and just started doing my own thing and just making it work. And it turned out okay because I think the camera wasn't on. So I just simply, this is washi right here, this little bit of gold, and there's a tiny bit of washi peeking up at the top. Other than that, I just found another photo that was used in my project life. I highlighted it with some tissue paper and a doily, and then just randomly added a few different things, and the title, a little bit of a frame that I had left over and a little piece of floral, and then I did use some sequins, and then I just decided to kind of help balance it. I put my journaling here, just talking about how we never went and got an official photo shoot with Jackson. I couldn't justify spending the money for a photo shoot when My sister is a fantastic photographer, and I feel like I take pretty decent photos. So to spend all that money when I could use my money in other ways, like, you know, for clothes, anything else, I just can't justify it. So my sister came across, she lives on an island. She came across and with her family, and we took turns taking photos, and some of the shots are really, really neat. I was actually really impressed with the way it turned out. And my parents were there as well, so we got a nice little family shot, and it was good, and it was a nice day. We had a picnic. It was beautiful. So just documenting that. I did use some Heidi Shine to kind of help bring out the fact that there's some gold elements in the layout. I was also able to use up this wood veneer. I have about 2 pieces left. Caddy gave me a little goodies, and that was part of it. And so I have these 2 pieces left, and I'm about done with that, so I'm excited. And I also kind of use up, I have, I think, 3 more pieces of these little cork things, and that will use up that as well. So long story short, the point is to use up as much of my scraps as possible before bringing too much new stuff in, with the exception of course, the fact that Caddy and I do obsess, so I need a new collection for that. But other than that, I'm trying to not bring in too much stuff. I'd rather get through my scraps and enjoy them for what they are and get some pages documented that way. And at the end of May, I am going to do a what I used up video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so that was very long and I rambled, sorry. So this is going to be my actual first layout for this new series. And what I wanted to do was, there is a camera hiding in here. That was from a sticker collection that I've had. And I have about 3 pieces on it that I'm going to use. And the rest of it, I'm just going to trash it. And so I was just highlighting how I wanted to use it. I knew that I had this photo of myself having a pumpkin spice latte. And I thought that the colors kind of blended well. And so I just took the pink paisley, I can never think of what this is called, but the pink paisley fall collection from last year. And I took that and built upon it, did some stitching, added this really cool doily, and then just layered and layered and layered. And I love the way it turned out. It's so pretty. I'm just so pleased with it. I did use some more frames, and I actually got some washi used up, and a little border. This just happened to again be on my desk, so I used that as well. And then just did my journaling about how much I love pumpkin spice latte, but I try to only have 3 max a year so that it stays a treat. And this is going to be the start of a little mini part within my album talking about, I was part of the Pink Camera 30 Happy Days or whatever it was called back in October of last year of 2015. And so I have some really awesome photos that are going to be 12 by 12s, and the rest are just going to be in it, like a Project Life type pocket page. So I was really pleased with this. There is a process video up, and it is now actually live on my channel. So if you'd like to get into it, maybe hear a little bit more, you're welcome to do that. If I can remember, I'll leave the link below for that. And finally, this layout is to represent May and the Victoria Marie Facebook group. Casey, Megan, and myself got to host the challenge for this month. Things have kind of gotten switched up, and we're now going to do 1 monthly challenge instead of weekly challenges, because it's easier for people to participate when it's just 1 challenge a month. We all agreed on it. We think it's a neat idea, and that way all the design team members can kind of participate with the same challenge, even though only like 2 or 3 of us are hosting it. For the first challenge, we've decided it would be fun, and it was actually Casey's idea after we were throwing around some other ideas, to do an ugly pattern paper challenge. So I chose this paper that it's got a rooster on it, and I've had it in my stash a long time. It's very flimsy. It's old. I believe it's from like 2009, maybe even earlier than that. And I just thought it lent itself to the fact that we had gone to, this is the same day at the pumpkin patch. And I thought it lent itself to that. I knew I had these photos, random photos taken on that farm. And so I simply took it. I used it in a little bit so that I could highlight some things that maybe I do like and make it more up to date, even though I'm using pattern paper I don't love. I was able to use up another frame. This little family fun sticker I've had in my collection for a really long time, so that was excited to get used up. And these little letters they're like burlap, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to use them. Well, they're perfect when you're talking about a farm, so I was able to use that up. I used one of these little wood things. This was from the Dear Lizzie documentary collection. A little bow, another one of these leaves. I'm almost done with those, so that'll be exciting. And then I just did my journaling, talking about how this is the second year we've been to this farm, and it just reminds me so much of my childhood, and I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so this very much reminds me of home, and I just wanted to document that. And to highlight this photo, I really like this photo, even though Sean's head is chopped off, but this just photo of Jackson, it's a little blurry, but I really love it. He's playing in the hay. It's obviously not something he gets to do very often. We live in the middle of a city, so it was just neat, and I really love the way it turned out. And I hope that you can hop on over to the Victoria Marie Facebook group, take a look at the challenge, and maybe participate for this month. But with that being said, those are all the layouts I got done. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I was able to get 9 layouts done, which is pretty good considering I knew I was going to not be overly worried about getting too much done. I'm pretty pleased with what I did get done. I hope you enjoyed, and National Scrapbooking Day and weekend is coming up next weekend, so there will be a lot going on and probably a lot happening on my channel. So if you like, stay tuned to that. I'll try to make sure to post as much as possible. I am working that weekend, so I won't be able to do a whole lot until Sunday, but I am hosting one of the challenges on the Victoria Marie Facebook group on the Friday. So I hope you can join in and have a lot of fun. Other than that, I'll be back soon. Bye everyone.